a lot of our parents, especially those who came into this country in a very, very Bandulu way, they were working on other people's NI numbers. Some of our parents don't have any NI contributions. They've got no pensions. Some of them don't have no state pension. So now they're at 66, 67. They're scrambling because if you don't own a home now. I hate this mantra of where people act like owning a home is the rite of passage to success. Like you've made it now, you bought a home. No. So whenever I see someone shaking keys in a Instagram post, congratulations that you was able to save the money. Let's talk about the deal that you've got. Let's talk about what you paid for the flat. Let's talk about how much you spent on the renovation. Let's talk about the return on investment. Let's talk about the yield. Is it over 10%? Now, everyone talks about buying property like it's the most important thing in life. In my head, if everyone's doing something, it's probably not the most business efficient thing to do. And I'm not going to say that buying property is not a good thing. If you're doing HMOs, if you're buying land and building units, if you're buying a property which is derelict and you're increasing the value of the property, yes. But the average person is just buying a property, which is fine because one would argue and say it's better to pay off, your mortgage than pay off a landlord's mortgage. And of course that makes sense. But everything for me is the return on investment. Now, as you know, I'm into commercial property. And let's say, for instance, I can spend 60k and I can open up a private hire space. And let's say that 60k can make me 6k a month in profit. That's 100% near enough yield. And I'll get all my money back in 1 year. Somebody might use that 60k to buy a flat, okay? And let's say, for instance, they rent it out. They might only get £1,000 a month as a yield, which is like maybe I don't know what that is percentage-wise, but let's say they're only going to make £12,000 profit in that whole year. I might make £60,000 profit. Let's just accumulate that over 25 years of just typical mortgages. Let's say I was renting somewhere for that 25 years and never bought a property. My investment is better than theirs.
Yeah.
Like, see, buying property is the banks have fooled us into it. And don't get me wrong, it's important to be able to have your base and sleep, but buying a property is it's not like the best investment ever. It's very specific on what the investment is. And remember, the banks have found a way of hoodwinking us to letting us know that we've got to buy property. The people that win are the banks. You got to remember that when you actually look at a mortgage and look at what you're spending over the 25 years, if you took out a typical 200k mortgage, let me just figure out the maths on this now. And once again, it's because it's spread over such a long period of time. So let me get this mortgage calculator out, yeah? And a lot of people don't actually realise what's going on. And don't get me wrong, not all of us have the money to go and buy something cash. But when you actually break it down, so let's say someone's taking the average property in right now, they said is 288k in the UK. So let's do a 300 grand mortgage, yeah? Over 25 years. Now, we're going to do it as interest only because someone wants to keep their payments down. Let's say the interest rate is going to be, I think the average interest rate right now is 5.5, I think. So let's do it at 5.5, yeah? We're going to calculate that now. From a £300,000 mortgage over 25 years, you're paying back an interest of 412 grand. Your interest, according to this, is more than the actual property you're buying. Now, when you think about that,
it's bad maths.
But it's better off. You're better off paying your own mortgage instead of someone else's. That's if you don't know what to do with your money.
Interest only. You don't get a property at the end of that.
No, because then what happens now is after that you still got to pay the repayment.
Yeah.
But the reason why some people go for interest only is because it's cheaper. So now, if this was an interest only mortgage, yeah, this person will be paying back every month. I'll tell you now, monthly. Does it say here? In a monthly, assuming your interest rate stays the same at the 5.5, they'll pay back £1,375 a month from that. Now, if we made this now repayment, so it's gone from 1.3 is if it's interest only. If it's repayment now, this person will be paying back 1,800.
Okay.
But then their interest now is only 252 is their interest now. So, but because people sometimes, their affordability, when they go for the interest only, they're being stung. But a lot of people don't, the maths behind buying a property, a lot of people don't understand. That's why I don't own a residential property at the moment. I own commercial. Because for me, the ROI on the commercial is a lot more than the residential. Don't get me wrong. Some people have figured out the residential. So I've got mates who, in Slough, who buy land and they build up. Okay. I've got mates who buy land, they buy houses, they make sure it's got space on the side, and they build a flat on the side to increase the value. So when you're increasing value to your property, by all means, yes, but buying a flat, in my opinion, that's all some people can afford. But to me, it's not the greatest investment in the world. Because with flats, you can very rarely add value to it. And apart from the decorating you might do, or you might buy a big flat and turn it from a 2-bed flat to a 3-bed flat, then you can. But generally speaking, it's not, in my opinion, it's not the greatest investment all the time. As I said, I can go and, because I know how to do commercial property, I can go and get a private hire space, spend 60k and potentially make about 5-6k a month profit. And if you calculated that over the span of time, you know, let's just get the calculator out. And let's say we're looking at that one flat that person's bought as maybe making them £1,000 profit a month. Obviously there's capital gains, tax, this and that, but let's look at it in a simplistic way.
Yeah.
You know, 6,000 times by 12 is 72, assuming it's making 6k profit. You then times that by 25, that's 1.8 million over the 25-year period. Now, looking at that £1,000, let's say that £1,000 times 12 is 12,000. You then times that by 25, that's 300k. Then you've got to talk about maybe what the property has increased in value over the time. So that £1,000 maybe the rental income they've taken in. And let's say that property is maybe increased by whatever. Let's say the property is increased by another 300k.
Okay.
By that time, let's just say in 25 years it's worth 300 grand. It's just a rough number. That's still 600k. I'm still 600 grand off better.
How much did it cost you to? Because you say you can go get a commercial property and spend X amount and then take out profit from it. So how much did it cost you to acquire that skill, that ability to go find a property, build it, etc., etc.? How much do you think you spent on your own personal development?
I think, remember, I started off doing events.
Yeah.
And the reason why I got into commercial property and getting my own space was that I said, if I can bring people to someone else's venue, why can't I bring them to my own? Simple maths. That was it. And I decided, and once again, I always give thanks to the family friend who gave me the money. So I had money of my own, and then he gave me money of my own tad. And then I eventually got Birmingham. And I just figured it out. Because I'd done events, I knew that marketing, I knew how to get people into my space. So if I can bring them into someone else's venue, they can come to mine. So I started off in Birmingham in 2016, and I went from there to London, and then I'm now on the verge of getting my 4th space. So what I wanted to do was eventually have one space in every part of London. So I've got North, I've got East, I've got South, now I finally got West, which is W1. I've got a place now just at the back of Oxford Street, which we're going to complete on Monday. Now, I always say that all of you guys that spend all this money on these silly courses, stop it. A lot of you are spending £1,000 to go to one course. Now, unless this gentleman or this lady is going to give you the blueprint, they're going to give you their suppliers, going to give you their lawyer, going to show you the websites where they buy stuff from. All of the information you're getting is just on the internet. Like, it's free information. If I'm going to tell you now, Wes, I'm going to charge you £1,000 to come on my course. If I'm not going to tell you who my builders are, this is my electrician, this is my plumber, this is my surveyor. If I'm not going to give you all these links, what are you spending this £1,000 for? If I'm not going to show you all of the hurdles and things that you can avoid, what? A lot of you just going in these courses, just sitting there, and this guy's telling you his story. This is my journey. So I spent £1,000 to hear your journey. Okay, what? Where are the links?